Welcome to PermaCem 2.0, the new self-adhesive cement from DMG. And when I talk about this, I naturally would like to explain a little bit about cements first, then go into adhesion, and finally let you know what makes up PermaCem 2.0. So let's start. What do we need cements for? Basically, any so-called indirect restoration, anything that comes from the lab that is not done by the dentist. So all the crowns, bridges, inlays, onlays, and veneers, the typical stuff. And they can come in a variety of materials. Noble metals, non-precious metals, ceramics, various ceramics in fact, and all of these require different luting and cementing. Now, when we want to group cements, we can basically have two very large groups. Group number one is the retentive cements. And to illustrate this, I brought these two strips of abrasive paper. And if I put these two strips of abrasive paper together and I try to move them, they don't move because they interlock. But even though the interlocking, the friction part is good, adhesion is zero. So this is the other part, the interesting part, and that is adhesive cements. And to show you this, I put a little bit of water on one of these slides here and put another slide on top of it. And you can actually really, this is why they're called slides, you can slide them against each other so there is no friction. But if you try to pull them apart, they really stick together very, very well. So no friction, but a lot of adhesion. And in a composite cement, for example, and especially a self-adhesive cement, you find both functions. You have both retentive elements and adhesive elements. But when you're thinking about cements in general, the first thing that usually comes to mind is the cement you use to build your house, to put together the bricks. And the reaction that is happening in this cement is actually really the same as in some very old and reliable cements, phosphate cement, for example. So in these, what you have is glass particles, and these glass particles are in an acidic matrix. And that acid reacts with this glass particle, so in an acid-base reaction. And the result of this is that, first of all, the surface gets sort of diluted, and then you build a salt out of this. Salt not in the sense of table salt, which is very soluble in water, but salt in the sense of a compound like gypsum, for example. And these crystals that are formed in this salt, they can interlock with any surface, and they will interlock with each other. And this interlocking is the basic curing and setting reaction of the cement. And even though this may seem a bit crude, like in this example, micromechanical interlocking is quite a strong force and can hold things really well together. But it also works on a lower level, like when we etch enamel and we put a bonding agent on this etched surface, then these cured resin parts interlock with this surface, and this is quite a strong bond. So micromechanical interlocking is also a driving force in cements. And to show you this a little bit, let me explain a bit more about PermaCem, the predecessor. So PermaCem is already a resin cement, which means it has higher initial strength and it's more aesthetic. But to try out what's it about adhesion, we created the same type of crown fitting. So same length for the abutment, same surface, and that wasn't easy, but we did it and we put crowns on top of it. And we cemented the crowns, first of all, with Harvard cement, then with PermaCem without a bonding agent, in this case without contacts, and in the last case, PermaCem with contacts. And the results were quite striking and stunning. First of all, even without a bonding agent, PermaCem had 3 times as much adhesion to the two-structure as did Harvard cement. And the second part, You could even double this figure by using a bonding agent. So this sounds good, but for a lot of dentists it was also very frustrating because they wanted always to know, do I need a bonding agent or don't I, and when? And this is now all over because with PermaCem 2.0 you don't need any bonding agent. And this is what really got dentists to it. If you look at this graph, you can see that the zinc phosphate, adhesive, whatever cement, they basically stay level. The only material group that goes against this trend is self-adhesion. And the reason for this is very obvious, because it's so easy. And because we have a shift towards cementing full ceramics. By now, we have about a 50-50 distribution between metal-based restoration and ceramics. But this trend towards more ceramics is going to continue, and we're going to see more of it. And that means we need more resin cements. And ideally, we need a self-adhesive cement because we don't want to bother about bonding these. So, in the next part, therefore, let's talk about adhesion. Thank you. So let's look a little bit into adhesion and what makes things stick. Now, we've seen part of the adhesion in the resin cements, but basically we want a good combination between this and a very, very old product, the glass ionomer cement. Glass ionomer cements, in a way, are the first self-adhesive products. They can stick to tooth structure, but they are mechanically not very strong and they don't look as good as resin cements. Now, tooth structure is one thing, the substrates are the other thing. So what can we do about noble gold alloys? And the astonishing thing is we can bond to these. We can bond to these via sandblasting and putting a special primer on them. It gets more difficult though when we get to a regular non-precious metal substructure. There's nothing we can do. There's pure friction only that we can use to hold these in place. What about the full ceramic restorations? Now, basically that depends. Cyanidization is good for glass ceramics, but it does not work on these high-strength ceramics like zirconium dioxide or aluminum oxide. So what are these? And what about the substructure of the tooth? What we find is that, like in a bonding process, enamel is said to be more reliable and easier to bond to, and dentin more difficult. And consequently, there's products that work very well with enamel, and there's products that work well with dentin, but there's very few products, and we are really proud to say this, that work with both of them, like PermaCem 2.0. So PermaCem 2.0 is really an exception of the rule, and bonding to tooth structure is good. But how do we achieve it? So if you look at this picture, you see that this is one of the special bonding monomers that we use. And it's basically grouped in three parts. Part one, if you compare this to the phosphoric acid down below there, so if I overlay this, you will see, it is basically a modified phosphoric acid. And then we have this long chain that can interact with the surface. If it's done right, it can give you adhesion on specific surfaces. And the last part finally has this double bond which allows it to be incorporated into the curing resin matrix of the cement. So that is that. And naturally, this structure, if done right, can also adhere to zirconia. This is one of the big features of PermaCem 2.0, to get you a very, very good adhesion to zirconia. And in order to allow you a little bit of insight into ceramics, let me classify these into basically into three groups. So there's aesthetic ceramics, and these aesthetic ceramics have a high glass content. The usual thing is feldspathic or lucite reinforced ceramics. The next group is the structural ones, and these have a lower glass content, and lithium disilicate is the thing here. So lithium disilicate, which is also called Emax, this is a trade name, is the really, really big newcomer on the block. And last but not least, we have high strength with no glass, and this is zirconium dioxide or aluminum dioxide. And these materials need special bonding agents or cements, basically. So high glass needs bonding and needs a resin cement. Structural can be done with a self-adhesive cement, and a high strength can use and should be used with self-adhesive cements or resin cements, but can be used even with a phosphate cement. And to do this, we need one more component in a self-adhesive cement, and that is water. And in this, you can see a bit of the differences between scientific and marketing ideas. So, as a scientist, I say we need water to make the product react. The acid group needs it. And the marketing department says, so it needs water, so then we can say it's water tolerant. But let me show what I mean with it needs water. You would probably call this pop rocks. So this is a German thing like it. And as long as it's in this bag, nothing happens. But if I pour it here in a glass of water, it starts to bubble and foam and go off. So at once the acid gets this water contact, then it starts to react. And this is what we want with PermaCem 2.0. We want that certain moisture content, no water puddles, not like this, but we want a moist surface to react. And we don't want eugenol because it's a resin cement. Any resin cement doesn't want eugenol because it can inhibit the polymerization. And with that, I'd like to show you a little bit of what PermaCem can do in the next part. Thank you. So, special features of PermaCem 2.0. As a resin cement and as a self-adhesive cement, it combines everything: strength, adhesion, and aesthetics. So it's the full package. And it is a universal cement, so you can use it with anything: crowns, bridges, except veneers. This is the one thing that you cannot use PermaCem 2.0 for. The reason is that veneers require the highest adhesion they can get. You cannot rely on friction on these products. So no other self-adhesive cement that's on the market currently tackles this. And because of that, we are not so sorry about it, because we've got a good solution. We've got VTEC for this. Not surprising, PermaCem 2.0 is an auto-mix product, and it comes in the Smart Mix. 9-gram Smart Mix syringe. And it comes in 3 shades. You get a transparent, you get an A2 universal, and an A3 opaque. The focus for this product is really on anything that has to do with ceramic. You can use it naturally with metals, but the focus is on anything ceramic, like CAD-CAM, like glass ceramics, and especially zirconium dioxide, because as I pointed out, this is the one thing that PermaCem 2.0 really excels: very good adhesion to zirconia. Now, the product needs to be refrigerated. That does not mean that the dentist has to get it out of the fridge, do the treatment, and put it back in the fridge again. It means that in the morning you can take out the product, then all day you can use it in a practice, and in the evening it should go back to the fridge. For you salespersons, please don't leave it in the car, not exposed to the high temperatures you can get in the summer. In the winter, I don't care, but in the summer, please put it in something cold. What is really neat about PermaCem 2.0 is that now you have an alternative to the bonding discussion in the root canal. We got a very good solution with Luxabond and Luxacor in the root canal. But for those people who say, oh, I don't want to have a new bonding agent, especially for the root canal, there is now a very valid solution by using PermaCem 2.0 and bonding your posts in the root canal. And in order to allow this, we have a neat tip, a very, very thin steel cannula that allows you precise application and secure bonding in the root canal with PermaCem 2.0. And part of that is having the right viscosity. You know, in PermaCem 2.0 we made some technology adjustments. So we took the idea for this working model like in honeycomb, steady when you want it and flowable when you need it. So in this case, same idea. We wanted to be, PermaCem 2.0 to be stable in the crown but flowable when you seat it. And this is exactly what's happening. When you seat a crown with PermaCem 2.0, the cement will flow very easily out. And that allows also for very good wetting on the surface, which means a good reaction, a good retention, and a good reaction on the surface. And we got something else which is extremely important for the dentist, and a very, very nice excess removal. We took this in part from Vitique, which is very highly acclaimed for this property. So when you want to remove the excess, this is something that any dentist will appreciate, because this is the thing that gets on their nerves, that is messy and whatnot. So having a nice excess removal like with PermaCem 2.0 will get their attention, and you can do it even with a demonstration model. So look for this. And last but not least, PermaCem 2.0 and zirconia, they're big friends. They give you the highest adhesion on the products on the market, and this is an excellent property that you want to see in a product like a self-adhesive cement. And we're very happy that we could include all this into one neat little package and call it PermaCem 2.0. And for this reason, it's no surprise that, for example, Joe Blaze, who publishes these pearls for your practice articles, when asked what cement would you use, said, use PermaCem 2.0. That's the end to your worries. Thank you very much.